What you're about to see in the next 72 hours will rewrite weather records across 15 states. And if you live anywhere east of the Rockies, the clock is already ticking. Right now, at this very moment, a meteorological bomb is assembling over Canada. Wind speeds aloft are reaching 185 miles per hour. That's stronger than a Category 5 hurricane. Except this isn't water, it's pure Arctic fury about to unleash on 120 million Americans. Here's what nobody's telling you. By Tuesday night, some of you won't be able to leave your homes, not because of snow depth, but because visibility will drop to zero. We're talking whiteout conditions, so severe that you could get lost walking from your car to your front door. The temperature drop coming Thursday, minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit in some areas. That's colder than the surface of Mars right now, and I'm going to show you exactly which neighborhoods are in the bullseye. But first, let me show you something that made my jaw drop this morning. The jet stream, that river of air 30,000 feet above us, has bent into a shape I've only seen 3 times in my entire career, and each time it triggered a weather catastrophe. Stay with me because at the 5-minute mark, I'm revealing the exact cities where temperatures will hit life-threatening levels. You need to know if you're on that list. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening right above your head right now. The jet stream is collapsing southward like an avalanche in slow motion. Look at this satellite image. See that massive dip over the Great Lakes? That's a 2,000-mile-long corridor of Arctic air about to funnel straight down from the North Pole. Current temperature in northern Canada right now, minus 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's moving south at 40 miles per hour. Here's your first checkpoint. By 6 p.m. tonight, if you're in Virginia or the Carolinas, snowfall rates will hit 2 inches per hour. That's 14 inches by midnight. Schools are already canceling for tomorrow. Have you stocked up on supplies? Because here's what the models aren't showing on the evening news. This isn't one storm, it's 3 storms stacked on top of each other like a meteorological freight train. Storm number 1 is hitting the mid-Atlantic right now as I'm recording this. By lunchtime, 7 inches of snow will blanket Richmond, Virginia. But that's just the opening act. The second storm? That's the monster. It forms Tuesday morning over North Dakota, and by Tuesday night, it will have exploded into a blizzard so powerful that the National Weather Service is using words like historic and life-threatening in the same sentence. Wind gusts of 60 miles per hour. Snowfall rates of 3 inches per hour. And here's the terrifying part. It's moving fast. By Wednesday morning, this beast will be sitting over the Great Lakes, spinning like a buzzsaw. Milwaukee, Green Bay, Duluth. You're about to experience something that will make the blizzard of 1978 look like a snow day. But the third storm, the one forming Friday, that's the wild card that has forecasters arguing in the Weather Center right now. Now let me ask you something crucial. Do you know what an Alberta Clipper is? Because understanding this could save your life in the next 48 hours. It's a low-pressure system that screams down from Alberta, Canada, moving so fast it doesn't have time to organize. But when it does organize, when all the atmospheric ingredients align perfectly, you get what we're about to see Tuesday night. Current pressure reading in that system? 996 millibars and dropping? For context, anything below 980 millibars is considered a meteorological bomb. We're watching this system strengthen by the hour. Here's a question that should worry you. What happens when 70-mile-per-hour winds meet fresh powdery snow? The answer is something called ground blizzards. The snow doesn't fall from the sky, it gets ripped off the ground and hurled horizontally. I've seen cases where people died 50 feet from their front door because they couldn't see it. Minnesota and Wisconsin, I need you to pay attention right now. Between 7 p.m. Tuesday and 2 a.m. Wednesday, you're going to experience the worst 7 hours of winter weather this decade. Snowfall accumulation, 14 inches. But it's not the total that kills people, it's the rate. When snow falls at 2.5 inches per hour, combined with 60-mile-per-hour winds, snowdrifts can reach 8 feet tall in less than 3 hours. And I promised you something at the 5-minute mark, so here it is, the exact locations where temperatures will become life-threatening. Fargo, North Dakota, minus 28 degrees Friday morning, wind chill of minus 52. That's frostbite in less than 5 minutes of exposed skin. Minneapolis, minus 22 degrees. wind chill of minus 45. Des Moines minus 18 degrees, wind chill of minus 38. Chicago minus 15 degrees, wind chill of minus 35. And here's what makes this different from every other cold snap you've lived through. It's not leaving. This Arctic air mass is so large, so dense, that it's going to park itself over the Midwest and Northeast for 5 straight days. 5 days below zero. Do you understand what that means for infrastructure, for power grids, for people living on the streets? But wait, because the worst part is still coming, and I need you to stay with me for this. The jet stream pattern I showed you earlier, it's doing something that creates what meteorologists call an omega block. It looks like the Greek letter omega when you see it on a map, and when this happens, weather patterns freeze in place. That Arctic air I'm tracking, it can't move north because there's a massive high-pressure system blocking it, like a 2,000-mile wide wall. Current pressure in that high? 1,045 millibars. That's freakishly high. For comparison, normal high pressure is around 1,020, so the cold air is trapped. It's got nowhere to go except sit and intensify. Let me show you what this looks like hour by hour, because timing is everything in this scenario. Monday night, temperatures across the northern plains start their dive. Rapid City, South Dakota drops from 35 degrees to 10 degrees in 6 hours. Tuesday, 6 a.m., the first bands of heavy snow begin in North Dakota. Schools close, highways shut down. Tuesday, 2 p.m., the storm is now a full-blown blizzard. Minneapolis is getting hammered. Snow is falling so hard you can't see across the street. Tuesday, 8 p.m., Green Bay, Wisconsin is in complete whiteout. Interstate 43 has 47 vehicles in a pileup. Emergency services can't reach them. Wednesday, 3 a.m., the blizzard reaches Michigan. Detroit is waking up to 8 inches of snow, and it's still falling. Wednesday, 10 a.m., Boston and New York are getting hit. But because they're closer to the ocean, it's a mix of rain and snow. That's actually more dangerous because it creates ice. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Thursday morning, a second low-pressure system forms over the Rockies, and this one has meteorologists completely divided. Half the computer models say it stays weak and falls apart. The other half say it intensifies and tracks straight through Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, and Ohio. If that second scenario happens, we're talking about a snow event on Friday that could dump another 8 inches from Wichita to Pittsburgh. But regardless of which track that storm takes, Thursday is when the real danger begins. The Arctic air. I need you to understand the scale of what's about to happen. Take your current temperature right now, wherever you are, and subtract 35 degrees. That's where you'll be Friday morning. Atlanta, you're at 55 degrees today. By Friday morning, you could be at 20 degrees. Nashville, currently 52. Friday morning, 18 degrees. St. Louis, you're at 48 right now. Friday morning, minus 5 degrees. And for those of you in the direct path, the numbers become almost incomprehensible. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, minus 30 degrees. Wind chill of minus 55. Marquette, Michigan, minus 25 degrees. Wind chill of minus 50. Burlington, Vermont, minus 20 degrees. Wind chill of minus 45. At these temperatures, your car won't start. Your pipes will freeze and burst. If you lose power, your house will drop below freezing in 3 hours. Now, here's where this story takes a turn that should make everyone south of Kentucky pay very close attention. There are 2 possible scenarios for how this Arctic outbreak spreads, and the difference between them is the difference between a historic cold snap and a civilization-altering disaster. Scenario 1. The jet stream stays in what we call a zonal flow. That means it runs west to east without much waviness. In this scenario, the worst of the cold stays north of Interstate 80. Chicago gets crushed, but Atlanta stays in the 30s. Scenario 2. And this is the one keeping forecasters up at night. The jet stream dips much further south. In this scenario, that Arctic air doesn't stop at Chicago. It barrels all the way down to the Gulf Coast. If scenario 2 happens, we're talking about temperatures in the teens in Birmingham, Alabama, single digits in Memphis, and a freeze line that reaches all the way to Houston. The implications are staggering. We're talking about citrus crops destroyed, water systems failing in cities that never winterize their infrastructure, a death toll that could reach thousands. Right now, the models are split 60-40 in favor of scenario 1. But that 40% chance of catastrophe? That's way too high for comfort. And here's the critical detail. We won't know which scenario is happening until Wednesday night. That gives southern states less than 24 hours to prepare for a possible Arctic invasion. But let me bring you back to what we know for certain is going to happen, because this part is guaranteed. The snow totals I'm about to show you are based on the most conservative models. The reality could be worse. Virginia today, 1 to 5 inches, with isolated amounts of 7 inches in the mountains. Harrisonburg, you're in the bullseye. North Dakota Tuesday, 8 to 12 inches. Fargo to Grand Forks corridor, this is the heaviest band. Minnesota Tuesday night, 10 to 14 inches. Duluth, you could see 16 inches if the heavy band's set up right over you. Wisconsin Tuesday night, 8 to 13 inches. The area from Wausau to Green Bay is going to be paralyzed. Michigan Wednesday, 6 to 10 inches in the Upper Peninsula. Marquette and Houghton, you know the drill. And here's what makes these totals so dangerous. They're all falling in less than 12 hours. Most cities can handle 12 inches of snow if it falls over 2 days. They can't handle it when it falls in 8 hours with 60-mile-per-hour winds, creating drifts that bury cars. Now, let me tell you about the lake effect snow that's going to follow all of this. After the main storm passes Wednesday, the winds are going to shift to the northwest. That means Arctic air screaming across the Great Lakes, picking up moisture, and dumping it in narrow bands on the downwind shores. Watertown, New York, you're about to experience what we call continuous lake effect snow. From Wednesday night through Saturday morning, snow will fall every single hour. Total accumulation could reach 3 feet. Buffalo, you're going to get hit too, but the winds aren't quite as favorable for you. Still expecting 12 to 18 inches of lake effect. Cleveland, Erie, you'll see lighter amounts, 4 to 8 inches, but it'll be persistent and annoying. And this is where the story gets personal, because I need to talk about the human impact of what's coming. Hospitals in northern states are already going to code orange. That's 1 level below full emergency. They're stocking extra supplies, calling in extra staff, preparing for a surge of frostbite and hypothermia cases. Homeless shelters from Montana to Maine are opening emergency warming centers. But here's the brutal truth. There aren't enough beds. In Chicago alone, there are an estimated 65,000 homeless individuals. The shelter system has capacity for maybe 15,000? Where do the other 50,000 go when it's minus 15 degrees? Power companies are pre-positioning repair crews. They know the combination of heavy snow, ice, and extreme cold is going to snap power lines. Some outages could last a week in rural areas. And if you lose power when it's minus 20 outside, you have about 3 to 4 hours before your house becomes uninhabitable. Do you have a backup plan? Do you know where you'd go? These are the questions you need to answer in the next 24 hours, not Thursday when the crisis is already here. Let me walk you through what the next 7 days looks like, hour by hour, for the areas in the worst danger zone. Monday, 6 p.m. Temperatures begin rapid descent across Montana and North Dakota. The first wave of Arctic air crosses the border. Tuesday, 9 a.m. Snow begins in Bismarck and Grand Forks, light at first, but intensifying quickly. Tuesday, 3 p.m. Blizzard conditions develop. Visibility drops to near zero across eastern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota. Tuesday, 9 p.m. The worst 6 hours of the storm. This is when you don't go outside for any reason. Wednesday, 3 a.m. Storm reaches Milwaukee and Madison. Interstate 90 and Interstate 94 are now parking lots. Wednesday, 6 a.m. Chicago's morning rush hour is a disaster. 2 inches of snow fell in the last hour alone. Wednesday, 4 p.m. storm weakens as it reaches New York and Boston, but it still drops 3 to 5 inches before departing. Thursday, 6 a.m. The storm is gone, but the Arctic air has arrived. Thursday, 2 p.m. temperatures are in freefall. Minneapolis hits 0. Chicago hits 8 degrees. Detroit hits 12 degrees. Friday, 6 a.m. This is the coldest moment. Record lows falling across 12 states. And then comes the part that makes this truly historic. It doesn't warm up. Saturday, same temperatures. Sunday, maybe 2 degrees warmer. Monday, still below zero in many locations. This is a 5-day Arctic siege. But here's something that's been bothering me, and I need to show you why. The long-range models, the ones that look out 10 to 14 days, they're showing something I've never seen before. After this Arctic blast lifts out early next week, there's another one forming, and then possibly a third one the week after that. We could be looking at a pattern that keeps the northern tier of the country locked in a deep freeze for the rest of December and possibly into January. The question everyone's asking, why is this happening? The answer lies 3,000 miles away in the North Pacific Ocean. There's a phenomenon called the Madden-Julian Oscillation, and it's currently in a phase that favors Arctic outbreaks over North America. Additionally, there's something called a sudden stratospheric warming that happened 3 weeks ago. Most people have never heard of this, but it's when the stratosphere, that layer of atmosphere 20 miles up, suddenly warms by 50 degrees in just a few days. When that happens, it disrupts the polar vortex. That's the spinning mass of cold air that normally stays locked over the Arctic. When it gets disrupted, pieces of it break off and dive south. That's what's happening right now. We're watching a chunk of the polar vortex slide down over Canada and then spill into the United States. And the scary part? This could keep happening all winter long. Now let me address the question I know you're asking. How do I prepare for this? First, if you're in the primary snowfall zone, North Dakota through Michigan, you need to have 7 days of supplies. Not 3 days, 7 days. Because if you get snowed in Tuesday night, you might not see a plow until the following Monday. Food, water, medications, pet supplies, flashlights, batteries, a hand crank radio. These aren't suggestions, they're survival essentials. Second, your car. Right now, today, fill up your gas tank. Put a winter survival kit in your trunk, blankets, hand warmers, energy bars, a shovel, sand, or kitty litter for traction. If you get stuck in a snowdrift during Tuesday night's blizzard and you didn't prepare, you could die before help arrives. Third, and this is critical, charge every electronic device you own. Phones, tablets, laptops, battery packs. If the power goes out, your phone is your lifeline. Fourth, know where your water shutoff valve is. When temperatures hit -20, pipes freeze. And when pipes freeze, they burst. If you know how to shut off your water quickly, you can prevent catastrophic damage. Fifth, check on your neighbors, especially elderly neighbors. A 75-year-old living alone who loses power in -15-degree weather has maybe 4 to 6 hours before serious medical emergency. Now here's something the major networks aren't talking about, and it's something you need to understand. This pattern we're in right now, this isn't normal December weather. Even for the northern states, this is extreme. The average December temperature in Minneapolis is 23 degrees. We're forecasting -22. That's 45 degrees below normal. The average December temperature in Chicago is 31 degrees. We're forecasting -15. That's 46 degrees below normal. These aren't small departures. These are departures so large, they redefine what's possible. And it's not just the cold, it's the duration. 5 consecutive days below zero in Chicago has only happened twice since 1980. We're about to make it 3 times. The stress this puts on infrastructure is immense. Natural gas demand is going to spike. Power grids are going to be pushed to their limits. And the human cost, both in lives and dollars, is going to be in the billions. But here's where we need to talk about the wildcard scenario again, because the latest model run I just looked at before recording this shifted things south. If, and this is still a big if, but if that jet stream pattern breaks down Thursday and Friday, and that Arctic air makes it all the way to the Gulf Coast, we're talking about a weather disaster that affects 150 million Americans. Orange trees in Florida would be destroyed. Water pipes in cities like Atlanta and Birmingham would burst by the thousands. The southern power grid, which isn't built for sustained extreme cold, could fail in multiple locations. We're not there yet. The odds are still against this scenario. But the fact that it's even a possibility should terrify emergency management officials across the South. What I need you to do right now is this. Go to your local National Weather Service website and sign up for weather alerts. When warnings are issued for your area, you'll get a text message immediately. Don't rely on social media. Don't rely on TV news. When conditions deteriorate Tuesday night, information needs to reach you instantly. And speaking of Tuesday night, let me paint you a picture of what conditions will be like during the peak of that blizzard. Imagine standing outside and you can't see your hand in front of your face. That's whiteout conditions. Now add winds so strong you can barely stand upright. The wind chill is minus 35 degrees. Your face starts to hurt within 30 seconds. Snow is coming at you horizontally. It's not falling from the sky, it's being launched at you like thousands of tiny frozen bullets. You take 3 steps away from your car and you've lost sight of it. You turn around and you can't tell which direction you came from. There are no landmarks, no reference points, just white chaos in every direction. This is how people die in blizzards. Not from the cold, but from disorientation. They wander in circles until exhaustion and hypothermia take over. If you're on the road when this hits, pull over immediately. Don't try to push through. Stay with your vehicle. Run the engine for 10 minutes every hour to stay warm, but make sure your exhaust pipe isn't blocked by snow. And call for help immediately, before your phone battery dies. Now, I want to show you something on the satellite that's deeply concerning. This massive high-pressure system I mentioned earlier, it's not just bringing cold air, it's also creating a phenomenon called radiational cooling. When you have clear skies and calm winds under a strong, high-pressure system, the ground radiates heat into space at night. Without clouds to trap that heat, temperatures can drop 5 to 10 degrees colder than forecast. So those minus 30-degree forecasts I gave you, in some rural areas with fresh snow cover and clear skies, we could see minus 35 or even minus 40. At minus 40, exposed skin freezes in less than 2 minutes. You breathe in that air and it hurts your lungs. Your eyelashes freeze together when you blink. This is not hyperbole. This is real, dangerous, life-threatening cold. And it's arriving in less than 96 hours. Let me give you some perspective on just how unusual this is. The last time we had a cold outbreak of this magnitude was January 2019, the polar vortex event that shut down much of the Midwest. Temperatures hit minus 28 in Chicago, minus 31 in Minneapolis. Dozens of people died. Hundreds of thousands of pipes burst. The economic damage was estimated at $5 billion. And that event lasted 3 days. This one is shaping up to last 5 days, possibly longer. The human suffering is going to be immense. And what breaks my heart is that so many people aren't going to take this seriously until it's too late. They're going to see the warnings on Tuesday and think, oh, it's just another winter storm. I've been through worse. No, you haven't. Not like this. This is the kind of event that happens once every 20 or 30 years, and when it does happen, it fundamentally changes how people think about winter weather. After the blizzard of 1978, building codes changed. Emergency response protocols changed. People took winter storms seriously. This event is going to do the same thing. Now let me talk about what happens after the immediate crisis passes, because the secondary impacts are almost as bad as the storm itself. All that snow that falls Tuesday and Wednesday, it's not going anywhere. We're not getting above freezing for at least 10 days in most of the affected areas. So that 14 inches of snow in Minneapolis, it's staying on the ground until late December at the earliest. Roads will be narrowed to single lanes. Parking will be impossible. Snow removal costs will bankrupt small towns. And every time the wind picks up, that snow will blow around again, creating new drifts and new hazards. This is what we call a snowpack event. Once it's on the ground, it becomes a fixture of daily life for weeks. But beyond the snow, there's the economic impact. Businesses in affected areas are going to lose a week of revenue. The week before Christmas, one of the busiest shopping weeks of the year, losses will be in the hundreds of millions. Transportation and logistics networks will be disrupted, trucks that should be delivering goods will be stuck, supply chains will be interrupted, and then there's agriculture. Livestock exposed to these temperatures without adequate shelter will die. We're talking about thousands of cattle, sheep, and other animals. The ripple effects of this event will be felt for months. Now, I promised you I'd show you the best-case scenario, and it's time to deliver on that promise. The best case is that Tuesday's storm tracks slightly further north than currently forecast. Instead of hammering Minneapolis and Milwaukee, the heaviest snow stays in northern Minnesota and Wisconsin. In this scenario, snowfall totals in the major cities drop from 12 inches to 6 inches. Still significant, but manageable. Additionally, the best case is that Scenario 1 plays out for the cold air. It stays north of Interstate 80, sparing the southern states from the worst impacts. And finally, the best case is that the second storm system I mentioned for Friday stays weak and disorganized. It passes through quickly without adding significant snow. If all three of those things happen, we're still looking at a major winter event, but not a historic catastrophe. The problem is, right now, the models aren't supporting that best-case scenario. They're trending toward the more aggressive solution. But weather can change. There's still 60 hours until the main storm hits. And in meteorology, 60 hours is enough time for things to shift. So I'm not giving up hope. But I am being realistic about what's most likely to happen. And what's most likely is that we're about to witness one of the most significant winter weather events of the decade. Let me show you one more thing before we talk about what comes next. The precipitation forecast for the next 7 days shows 3 distinct waves of heavy precipitation. Wave 1 is today through tonight. That's the mid-Atlantic snow. 2 to 5 inches for most, locally higher. Wave 2 is Tuesday into Wednesday. That's the main event. 10 to 14 inches in the primary target zone. Wave 3 is Friday into Saturday. That's the potential second storm, plus lake effect snow. Another 4 to 8 inches possible in select areas. Add it all up, and some locations could see 25 inches of snow in a 5-day period. That's more than many cities see in an entire winter season. And all of that is falling right before Christmas, when people are trying to travel, trying to shop, trying to prepare for the holidays. The timing could not be worse. But here's what you need to focus on. Not the inconvenience, but the danger. Every winter, people die in weather events like this. They have heart attacks shoveling heavy snow. They die of carbon monoxide poisoning running generators indoors. They freeze to death when their car breaks down on a lonely highway. I don't want you to be a statistic, so make smart decisions. If you don't have to travel Tuesday or Wednesday, don't. If you don't have to go outside when it's -20, don't. This is not the time to be a hero. This is the time to be smart and cautious. Your life might depend on it. Now, what happens after this system clears? That's what I'm going to cover in tomorrow's forecast. Because while everyone is focused on the immediate threat, I'm watching what develops next week. And what I'm seeing is concerning. There are signs that another Arctic outbreak could develop around December 18th or 19th. Not as severe as this one, but still significant. And if that happens, if we go back to back with these events, we're looking at a December that will go down in the history books. Record cold, record snow, record suffering. But I'll have more details on that tomorrow once I see how this first system evolves. For now, your focus needs to be on the next 96 hours. Prepare today. Stay safe Tuesday and Wednesday. Survive the cold Thursday through Sunday. And whatever you do, don't underestimate what's coming. The weather doesn't care if you're ready or not. It's coming regardless. So be ready. Your life may depend on it.